So now we've talked a little bit about the low-pass filter. Let's move on to the high-pass filter for a second. It's the opposite. Where the low-pass filter lets those low frequencies through, the high-pass filter lets only the higher frequencies through. So we used a low-pass filter to kind of knock off all of those upper frequencies of the white noise, and we swept upward. I'm going to go to a whole different session now to demonstrate some low-pass filter techniques. So this comes to us from our friends at Babel Blue Studio, and they provided this for a series that I'm going to start soon called Know Your Plugs, where we're going to compare API plugins from Waves and the actual API EQs that we use in our studio. But let's hear a little bit of this track that they recorded. This is just an intro here. Okay, so the thing that's driving me just bananas about this right now is that the low end is a mess. I don't have definition in those lowest frequency instruments, the bass guitar, the kick drum, those things. And to really drive that point home, let me just solo 3 channels in here. I'm going to solo the bass guitar, the acoustic guitar, and then these electric guitars, which is actually just one pass that was recorded with 2 microphones. And it's going to this bus over here. Let's just listen to those 3 things. Yeah, that's kind of hairy. Let's just listen to the acoustic. Sounds like an acoustic guitar, the electric. So the electric guitar is primarily a mid-range instrument. That's where we want it to sing in our mix. The acoustic guitar, although it's the same fundamental frequencies, has a lot more shimmer, has a lot more of those upper harmonics, those things that really catch our ears, that are interesting up there in the airy range, right? In the treble. Whereas the bass we know is our power, that is our foundational, fundamental bottom. And listening to those acoustic guitars and those electric guitars in isolation like that, I noticed they both have a lot of low-frequency content. It's not the thing we're focused on, but it's there. They both have a lot of these lower frequencies. So in order to deal with that, let's just solo the acoustic guitar for a second. And I'm going to open, and we'll get a nice little screen detail here. I'm going to open this filter, and I have it set right now to high pass. So in our previous video, we were using a low pass filter, right? Now I'm setting it to high pass. And listen to what happens to the acoustic when I engage this filter. Now, if you've got your headphones on, you heard some difference. By itself, it did not feel like a tremendous difference. Didn't sound huge. Let's do the exact same thing to the electric guitars. We're going to pull in this filter here. Same filter. There it is. And watch what happens when we engage this filter. So same story. Hopefully you're listening in your headphones like you should be, and you heard a difference there, but you went, well, I mean, that's just cents on the dollar. That's not a huge difference. So now when we put in all 3 of those instruments, acoustic guitar, electric guitar, and bass, I'm going to start with filters off, and then I'm going to add them in. And what I want you to notice is that the bass guitar is suddenly going to be defined. It's suddenly going to be apparent. You'll be able to really focus in on what that bass part sounds like because we're getting those unnecessary other low frequencies out of the way. Have a listen and let's do this. Okay, we'll go in the other direction this time. I'll actually start with the filters in and then take them out as we listen, and watch how the bass kind of becomes just muddied and unclear down there. So this should hopefully be an important lesson. You're realizing that what I wanted to do was make the bass more defined. I did not reach for an EQ or a filter on the bass. I didn't push that fader up. That would be the wrong idea. Instead, what I did was I found those low frequencies that were unnecessary to the part, the acoustic guitar and electric guitar, and I cleared them out of the way, and suddenly, there's your bass. That's what we were looking for, right? Never had to touch the bass. The bass was fine all along. And so there you have it. There is a high-pass filter being used to add definition to the low frequency in our mix. That's kind of a weird thing for people to wrap their minds around at first, but it is useful once you understand how the tool can be used. So we've talked about high-pass filters and low-pass filters in the last two videos. A bandpass filter is just putting those two things together. You get rid of something on top, you get rid of something on bottom, and that band of frequency that is left, that's what remains. That's called a bandpass filter. And the fourth filter is a notch filter, whereas a bandpass filter only lets frequencies in the middle pass, a notch filter only removes frequencies in the middle, and most often is used with a very narrow cue, a very narrow bandwidth to get rid of problem spots. That could be a resonance that was in the room, or a specific distortion that came through. So those are our categories of filters. And if you tune in next time, we're going to be talking about EQ. That's the other half of spectrum processing. So click the card that takes you to the next video. Until then, I am your pandemic professor, Scott Velasco. It's time to bounce. We're fading out.